Alright, welcome back to another episode. In this episode of our RNG series, we are gonna do our rolling GUI. So we are gonna just directly get started. I don't actually have anything to say this time. So first of all, we could go to the start GUI, open up the screen GUI which we made last episode, open up our holder and go directly to our roll button. Inside here we could also, let's go inside our roll button, not inside the inner frame, but in the roll button, and we are gonna add a local script. Right, this local script we are gonna rename to our rolling handler, like this. We probably, let's do that. It is gonna help us in the future, so we are gonna go into replicated storage and add a folder. This folder we are gonna rename to remotes and add inside this a remote function. So we can call this function anytime we want to actually roll something. But I think we are gonna change the remote function to a bindable function instead, so only local scripts can call this. Right, so let's rename this. Actually, let me think. Yeah, to make the game safer, sorry, my bad. We're gonna actually delete this again and add a remote function. That was my bad. To make the game safer, we are just gonna do a remote function and call this rolling function. Now that we have that, we can go inside our script, which we probably already have opened, and add a local replicated storage tag, which basically just calls our replicated storage up here. This has to be game get service replicated storage, and then we could also do another tag for our remotes folder. So local remotes is equal to replicated storage, wait for child, rolling. Okay, never mind, it cannot see that, my bad. I meant remotes, not rolling function, I was one step ahead. Now that we have that, we can also just call that directly. So local rolling function is equal to the remotes, wait for child, rolling function. There we go. So now we could also say that we want to get our button. So local button is equal to script.parent, and we could also grab the title so we can rename our button anytime we want. So local button title is equal to button, wait for child inner, and wait for child title. There we go. Now we can actually start with our main script. So button.activated gets connected to a function, and inside this function you don't need anything. You could have two different inputs, you can see right here, but we are not gonna need them. Right, so after we have activated this button, what we can do is probably first make our GUI. Actually, I completely forgot that. So head into your starter GUI, and I think we can do it inside this, sure. Inside our button bar, add a different frame and call it the rolling background. This rolling background is gonna be centered with an anchor point of 0.5 as well as a position of 0.5. So it's in the dead center always. For the size, probably just 1, so it scales the entire screen. And the background color can be black. For the Z index, I would probably do something high, so let's do 1000, so it's always at the top, right? Actually, this has to be second, I feel like, so let's just do 100, sure, this works. For the background transparency, we probably do 0.85 Maybe a bit darker, sure. Let's do 7.5, so the screen gets a bit darker as soon as you hit roll. Next up, we need to add a few more frames. I've decided that I want to do something interesting, let's say, with our game. So not the typical type of rolling animations in most RNG games. Center this frame again using the anchor point of 0.5 and the position of 0.5. And let's rename this to our actual rolling. Actually, let's do R holder for rolling holder. And for the size, let's do like 0.75 and 0.15. It's a bit large, I feel like, so 0.5, comma, let's do 2. Works better, yeah, I like that. So, make sure background transparency is set to 1, so you cannot see this. And we can do clips descendants, which is enabled. What this basically does is if we add a frame, and if we were to position it in a way that we cannot see it anymore, you will see that it will clip out of the frame where the frame actually doesn't exist anymore. So it only displays the thing that actually is inside the boundaries of the frame. If we were to disable clips descendant, you will see that it will extend outwards. And we don't want that. So go ahead and center this inside our frame, our rolling handler, or rolling holder, my bad. And this right here is gonna be our middle roll, or main roll, sure. This main roll, just one size, just to be the max. This can be background transparency set to 1 again. And inside here we are gonna add 2 text labels. One for our aura name and one for our aura rarity. So make sure that the anchor point is 0.5, 0. Make sure it's 0.5, 0 this time. The position should be 0.5, 0 again. So it stays at the top middle. For the size, we are gonna do 1, 0.75. So it's almost the entire frame. Actually, let's do 6.5. Yeah, works better. Make sure background is set to 1 again. And rename this to our aura name. Now, using Ctrl D, you can duplicate this. And you can actually say, instead of aura name, it's gonna be the aura rarity. For the size, it's gonna be, let me think, 3.5. And the position is gonna be 0.5, 0.65. So it scales the entire frame again, as you can see. Right, now that we have both of them, select both actually, go all the way down, select the font that you had on the roll button, so the UI stays consistent. I was using Sono Monospace, so I'm gonna use that here again. This is just a temporary font, you can change that anytime. And then we are gonna do text scaled, so it fits the entire screen, right? No, the entire title, right? The text label. And for our aura name, what we can do is probably do the style of bold. So it is a bit, you know, bolder, I guess. Actually, I think I like it better if it's not bold. So the text color doesn't matter right now, but I think I'm gonna start off with a white. Yeah, that looks good for the moment. You can actually, to test if it works at the moment, you can say the aura name is gonna be common, sure. And the rarity is gonna be like 1 in 75 or whatever. Just any value, it doesn't matter, right? Now, if you feel like that text right here is a bit too large or too small, you can select both of them again. Actually, only the title first, and just scale it to the way you'd like. I'm gonna increase it a bit, as well as the rarity. I'm gonna decrease that. And I'm just gonna reposition that. And I feel like that already looks way better. Yeah, I like that a lot more. Maybe even, I feel like we can increase this. 7.5 and 2.5. And this 7.5. There we go. I feel like that's the best size you will get. So aura name 1,75 and 1,0.25, right? The position on this, make sure it is 0.5, 0.75. Alright, now that we have those, the reason I said that this is the main role is because we are gonna duplicate those twice in the script. One for the top role. You don't have to do this, I'm just showcasing it. This is gonna be like our top role, which we are gonna position to the top instead of... Alright, this is the bottom, my bad. So this is gonna be like on the top instead of, you know, in the middle. And then we're gonna like loop through them so it looks like it spins, actually, you know. The effect is gonna be way better than like this. So you can make sure that you only have the main role, and the structure should be something like this. I'm gonna open this up so you know what's happening. Inside our rolling handler, we are... let me think. Yeah, we are gonna go inside our replicated storage, and we are gonna grab... Actually not up here, a bit further down, below the remotes. We're gonna do local modules, which is replicated storage, wait for child, modules. And remove the space and go below our rolling function. Say local auras, which is gonna be modules, wait for child, auras. Yeah, auras. Actually, instead of this, you can select this and hit Ctrl X to cut it out and say require first. For every module script, you need to require it. So, now that we have this, we can go inside our button activated and just say rolling function dot colon, right? I think it was fire. No. Let me think. I completely forgot how this works. I need to look it up real quick. Be right back. Alright. I am back and I know how they work again. So instead of saying this, we can just do local result, equal that to our rolling function, and say colon invoke server. Inside here, we are just gonna do auras. I think we can also, no, just auras. So we're sending over the auras that we could potentially have, right? Like those that we made last episode. And we are also gonna send in our button title. Actually, no, not the button title. Let me think. Sure, we are gonna send in the R holder. So get the position of your script, and this is gonna be a bit of a reroute. So do local R holder and do script.parent, so you're at this index, and do two more parents, .parent.parent. So you're currently staying at the screen GUI. Now if you were to say wait for child rolling background and then wait for child R holder, you will have this current R holder, right? So then we are gonna send in our R holder as well. Now we could also say print result, which is actually not gonna do anything because we haven't connected the server side of it. So go and say inside server script service and add a script, a regular script inside. This is gonna be our server rolling. Inside here, we are gonna do local replicated storage again, which is game get service replicated storage. Then we need the remotes, so local remotes is replicated storage, wait for child and remotes. And then we need the local rolling function, which is gonna be remotes, wait for child, rolling function. So go ahead and say rolling function dot on server invoke. That is gonna be a function, and inside this function we have two parameters which we are sending in. Actually 3, because the player needs to be here. So you can say we need the aura, or like the aura table. Then you need a, what did we send in again? The R holder, right? So our rolling holder, which is gonna be a frame, and the aura table is gonna be a table, but I'm not quite sure how to make sure that gets sent in. So we're just not gonna do the colon thing, right? Hit enter here, which creates a end, and now we can get our result. First of all, we can just say return aura table as well as the rolling holder dot name. If we were to do this and hit play, you can see that if we were to click our roll button right here, you will get a table, and actually not the name of the rolling holder. Okay, that's weird, because it should give back two things, right? Night dog. But why isn't it doing that? Hold up, give me another second. Alright, I'm back. So I just noticed, or I just completely forgot that you cannot send in two values. You have to send one value back. So if you were to change this to rolling holder.name, it is gonna work again. So hit roll and it's gonna do our holder. That works. Right. Now we actually have to make another. Actually, let's do a function for that, sure. Because we need to get a completely random aura out of our auras right here. So say local function, which is gonna be get random aura. Inside here we are gonna require our auras, which we are already sending in here. Sorry, that is the client, right? I'm dumb. We need to grab this function and send it over to the server right here. Make sure it is on the server, on the server script, not on the client script. So inside our get random aura, we are. Sorry, I have a bad headache right now. Let me think. This could take a while, so I might do it off cam, might show a little time lapse of me doing it, but I might be back because this could get complicated. Alright, I am back. So also sorry if you hear some background noises, my sister is currently, getting her hair dry again. So I have made a little function which works. So this might look a bit complicated, I guess, but not really. So inside this function that we made, get random auras, you are gonna send in the aura table. So what you can do is for every index of the amount of auras in your aura table, so inside all of those, right, you are gonna loop to the integer 1 and you're gonna remove one index every time. So you would have 12 auras, right? You would go from 12 all the way down to 1, if that makes sense. So then we declare our aura, which is the index of our auras right here. And so it goes from this to this to this to this and all the way to the first aura. And our local chance, so the rarity of the aura, is always the second index of our module script, right? So if you would look at this right here, also let me get different music, this music sucks. Right, there we go. So this random value is a random number which always gets called. And so just do random.new, open these brackets, then do colon next integer 1 and our chance. What this does is it grabs a random number between 1 and our actual, rarity that we have. So if our aura would be 544, it would be, 1 in 544. So then we check if the aura value is equal to 1, then we return the aura that we just rolled. Otherwise, if there's no aura found, then it is returning the first aura. This is to test, right? But you can comment this out by doing 2 minuses in front or 2 dashes. Down here at our .onServer invoke, we are gonna send in a local aura table, which is a empty table, and then we are gonna do another for loop, which is a index of 12. You can change this if you want. This is just how many rolls you're gonna do in a regular press. So if I were to click the roll button once, it's gonna roll 12 auras if you don't have quick roll, and for the quick roll we are gonna do something else. But if I were to hit play, and if I click roll once, you will get a table of 12 different auras, and the last one is gonna be what you've actually rolled, if that makes sense. We're gonna be rolling past the other ones, right? You can change this number right here, but keep everything else that we have right here. So go from the index 12 all the way to 1 and just decrease it by 1. So go from 12 to 11, 10, 9, just go down to 1 right here. Then we are gonna do a local selected aura, which is our random aura function that we have right here. And you gotta send in the aura table right here. Then we are gonna do a table.insert, so inside our rolling table right here, we are gonna insert the selected aura that we just got, right? Otherwise, you can just print out the rolling table at the bottom, so you can see what we could have rolled, right? So change this print right here. If you have copied everything right here, I'm gonna leave it here for a few seconds so you can pause the video. Right, if you have that, you can add a return right here and say, yeah, I would like to return the rolling table. So if you go to the client, we are just gonna do print result, and according to me, it should still print out the same table that we had before. Yeah, that works. So now that we have our completely random auras, right? We are actually gonna split this episode into 2 parts for actually, the animation, the rolling animation, and this part that we just did. Because the animation will take a lot longer, otherwise the episode is gonna be like an hour or whatever, and we don't want that. So I guess this is the point where we are gonna end the episode. But one more thing which we're gonna do, so we're gonna just select our rolling background and disable visible, right? Because we don't want to see this all the time. And one more thing I noticed, if you go into the screen GUI right here, the bottom bar that we have, you have to enable ignore GUI inset and disable reset on spawn, because otherwise it's gonna look a bit funky later on. But make sure that you disable this and enable the GUI inset. Right. This is pretty much it for the entire episode. Probably maybe tomorrow or in the next couple of days I'm gonna upload the second part of this episode, which is actually gonna be animating this rolling animation, or like this rolling thing that we just did. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope your game is coming along pretty good. And until the next time, I would say you can start, building your map and whatnot. But we are definitely gonna be, doing biomes and everything later on. But for now, we are just gonna do the simple, rolling animation. So I hope, as I just said, you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions about the code, or if you are struggling at anything, I recommend you join our Discord server, link down below, and just ask a question in our scripting help channel. I could show you this real quick. This doesn't take long anyways. Right here on my Discord server, right? There's a channel for scripting help, and you can just create the post right here. Just make sure you are using the tags correctly, right? We appreciate that very much. So, thank you for watching, and honestly, thanks again for the support I've been getting, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.